Hi, Emily. How are you?
Good morning.
Good
Hi, Amy.
morning. Hi, I'm so grateful you're here with me. Tell everyone where in the world you're located and then give me the elevator pitch. What do you do in this world?
Sure. My name is Emily Lampkin. I am currently located in my home right outside of Washington, D.C. This is where I have worked for the last 30 years and where I have built my career and brought me to this point of the Women Leader Series and talking to women about the tools that they can perfect that they already have.
Okay, so good. Tell me, how did you get started with this? What made you decide women need this? I know you saw a gap. Tell me all about it. Give me the origin story.
I am part of Washington, D.C. I have worked in this business of politics and public affairs my whole career. I'm also an entrepreneur and have one of those minds that's always buzzing with ideas. Some of them good, successful, some of them not so good, not so successful. Over the course of the years, I was taking notes in my phone. I was very curious about women, and not only women who were successful in terms of they had a fancy title or an elite job, but who was happy and thriving in their life,
Mhm.
and what exactly were they doing that was making all of this happen. So I took notes on my phone, and it became clear over the course of time that these women excelled at three fundamentals. I took those three fundamentals and built them into a business plan. I, of course, nosed around, wanted to make sure, is there anybody already nailing this? Is somebody offering this? Is somebody talking about this? And then went ahead and tested it in a workshop model.
Mm.
And holy cow, the response. Gangbusters. Women needed this, and there wasn't anything else out there like this.
Mhm.
And one of the key factors I think there was that this was a workshop format. I'm not going to talk at people. I don't really like it when people talk at me for long periods of time, but that this could be interactive. We can learn from one another and we can put it in practice. And the Women Leaders Series workshop has almost a church revival feel to it. Women are a part of it. They'll scream out, they'll high five themselves. Sometimes they tear up at what they're capable of doing and how
Mm.
much better they can be at whatever way they are leading that is important to them.
So good. Okay, will you give us a sneak peek? What were the three things that you
Sure.
found? I would love to know.
That's the secret. Number one is selling you.
Ah,
These
okay.
women were able to build a message by creating a real understanding of who their competition was and how
Hmm.
they were going to get ahead of their competition. They understood who their audience was. They understood that men and women communicate differently. And if you're communicating with a man the same way you're communicating with a woman, you're losing. The other element of that is they had a selling you pitch. They could tell their story. When somebody said, what do you do? What do you want? Tell me about you. This wasn't a reading of the resume. They were
Yeah.
telling a compelling story and sharing a compelling message about themselves. And guess what they were doing in particular? They were asking for what they want. They were
Ooh.
consistently and constantly. So that's a concept I want us to come back with because as
Okay.
I go through these thematics, you will see it is consistent in these women who are thriving in their life. The
Mm.
second thing they were doing is widening the circle. They were constantly building and maintaining a dynamic network, both in person and in most cases on social media. And again, they were utilizing that network to get what they want. It
Mhm.
didn't just exist, it had a purpose, and they were driving toward the purpose of what they wanted.
Mhm.
The third element here, so we've talked about branding, we've talked about networking. The third element is going now. These women were not waiting for things to happen. The only sad figure I share in the workshop is that more than 50% of the women on this globe are unsatisfied with their life because there's something they want and they gave up on it.
Mm.
Almost none of us thought we were going to be a supermodel, but there's something that is intrinsically important to us. And it may be on the career path or it may be something outside of your career path. But women needed something where they were leading that was fundamentally important to them. And I was thinking about the sadness of women being unsatisfied with their lives. And then I just thought, we can do something about this, and pretty easily. And the number one person who's usually in the way of women succeeding is themselves. And so we build the elements of what's in your mind and how do we get out of that. And this really critical concept of scaling. We are building an individualized plan of action for every single woman who is part of the Women Leader Series movement. And we are implementing it in whatever discretionary time they have. That varies greatly for all of us, and it varies greatly, frankly, from day to day. Some days it's
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes, some days it's 2 hours. They
Mm-hmm.
were making progress on this individualized plan of action. And the stories I was getting from women from the get-go about how they were utilizing this and what they were able to do and what it meant to them, the level of satisfaction they had with themselves, how they were jumping out of bed because they were headed toward what they wanted and they were scaling something larger than they could ever imagine, brings me to my knees. That's
Wow.
when I went and copywrote it because I knew we were onto something.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I'm curious, Emily, if those three things that you brought to that group that you so thoughtfully did research to figure it out, but did you go back and look at your own life and think these three really helped me get to where I am in my career too? Or were some of those surprising to you? I would love to know.
Sure. What was, and taking a step back, what was critical to me was that I was creating something for me and you and the other women like us.
Mm-hmm.
Women are leading every day in extraordinary ways, and most of them don't see themselves as leaders. And most of them are leaders, and when I point it out, it kind of it takes a step back from them. They think, me? It's not me.
Oh.
And it was important to me because there was a lot of material out there
Mm-hmm.
for women who knew they were already the most senior positions they were going to be in their careers and their lives. They had a lot of professional guidance. They had a lot of professional support. And the Women Leader Series works for those women as well. But what
Mm-hmm.
about everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And so I say that because there were elements of the fundamentals of the Women Leader Series that I was nailing and had been nailing. And I had tools I needed to perfect as well. I still do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And how boring life would be when we get to the point where we don't have anything left to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the number one request in corporate climates for employers is women are requesting professional development. They all want to be better at what they do. So
Mm-hmm.
this fulfills that need women have. How do I get better at whatever it is I'm doing?
Hmm. Hmm. So good. I love this. And do you think, because there are a lot of resources out there, these are all smart, capable women that you are attracting to this group. Why is it that they need to be in community? What is it about that versus just, I'm going to create my own individual plan of success and I'm going to go after it? Like, what's at stake here, Emily?
That's a good question. Uh, I am a what I call a super reader. I think some of them people use the term bibliophile. I
Mhm.
read a lot of books, somewhere between 150 and 250 a year. And
Woo!
I am very curious about all of the books out there and all of the data and all of the information related to how do we think, how do we approach things. And some of this is universal for human beings, but some of it is very specific to men and women. Our brains are wired differently. There's a ton of research out of Stanford and Harvard and Georgetown and other places on the differentiation in just our brain and how we approach things. And you are right on. Women like to be together and we like consensus. And that is really important to us. And we should not deny what our strengths are and how we approach things.
Mm.
That is a critical element of who we are, and it's a critical tool we have to use, is bringing others with us,
Mhm.
looking for confirmation that I'm on the right track, that what I'm doing in this world matters. And that's perfectly okay. And that's not only okay, it's good. And we should really kind of pat ourselves on the back and utilize that expertise we have to move us forward. Another one that we have is, as I said, consensus building. Another, I think, is sometimes we deny ourselves, especially in career paths, is women are naturally empathetic. And it's one of those things like you don't notice it until it's missing. And
Mhm.
when you see a woman trying to deny her natural empathy, her ability to read a room, to understand who is uncomfortable, who is disengaged, who seems to have a lot on their mind, we're really giving up on something that makes us even better. So I'm all in favor of let's capitalize on what we're best on. By the way,
Mhm.
and let's steal some of the things the guys are really good at and put them in our pocket and use them as
Mhm.
well.
So good. How are people joining your series? Is it like, do you meet on Zoom often? Is this a monthly program? How do you structure this so that people can tap into all of this goodness?
Usually, my format for the workshop is that organizations or companies hire me to bring my workshop into their office place, their community organization, whatever it is. I think
Okay.
I've done it under every guise, and I've done it in a group as small as 8 and as large as 600. Done it in less than an hour. I've done it over the course of 3 days. So it is
Mm,
definitely an accordion that works for audiences that want to bring it in. It has truly become a movement of all of
mm,
us. And the easiest way to join and start getting up to speed is by social media, where I have a presence on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, among others. And one of the things I do is called Friday Tips for Women. And every Friday morning, I share with the Women Leader Series movement something additional just to pique our attention and remind ourselves of where we're headed. But on top of that, I've got really exciting news. Coming March 3rd, there is a book with all of this material plus more, and it's fun because I think we need to have more fun. Um, Duct Tape and White Lies, which is available on Amazon and everywhere else you would purchase books. And so you can have your own copy of this handbook and highlight it and underline it and dog ear it and however you want to use it in whatever leadership path you are on in your life.
so good. Okay, let's talk about this book. I am so excited that this is
Thanks.
coming out but tell me about this. This book is for women, but you said just now you love when corporations or businesses hire you to come in. I want to just talk about that really quick before we dive into all the things book.
Sure.
Because I know people are hungry for professional development. Oftentimes, this is probably something that's overlooked a lot. Would love you to speak to the people that should hire you right now. Why is it so important that they bring you in to help the women in those organizations? Like at what level, building leaders? I just read a study yesterday about all the women leaving the workforce in droves this year. It's higher than ever. Due to childcare and other issues. And it just made me so sad because we have such amazing women that bring so much to the workforce. And yeah, I would love your thoughts. Love you to talk to the people who should be bringing you in right now.
As I mentioned, the Women Leader Series is built as an accordion. And one thing that I can do with it and do it often is it can be tailored to the audience in particular. The number of years that they've been in the career or the workforce, what they're really honing in on at that moment. But these fundamental skills do not change. They do not change globally. I do this for a number of international organizations, including I represent the American people as part of the U.S. State Department's speakers program worldwide. to talk about women empowerment and entrepreneurship. This works universally for all these audiences. But how do I know it works and how do I know it's different? It's the feedback that these companies and organizations who hire me get from their employees about how this is different
Mm.
than what they've gotten and why it really stands out as different. It is not just hyped up, okay, I left there, I feel great about myself, that was really inspiring, but I can do this. These are tools I can put in place today. And perhaps the whole workshop, again, you may be nailing portions of it, but there's something for everybody where they walk away and say, I can do that today
Mhm.
and I can make progress where I want to head. And employers tell me that the difference in the change in how women perceive themselves, the confidence by which they carry, and the product they're delivering in the workforce because of those other elements is a game changer for them.
Mm. So good. Tell me why you named your book, tell me Duct Tape and White Lies.
Yes.
Why did you name it this? And give me, what does this book look like for people? Who should read it?
The,
What should we expect? I'm so excited.
I'm actually so excited too. Um, Duct tape and white lies is an answer I have used forever when people inevitably ask me that question. How do you do it all, Emily? And I think that there's this thought around perfection and that people aspire to other people's perfection. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And first of all, perfection is unattainable.
Mhm.
It's also miserable.
Mhm.
Trying to be perfect. What we need to do is what we got to do to get to where we need to be. And I am so much like everybody else. I did not go to the fanciest school in this country. I am not from the fanciest family. I, frankly, am not usually the smartest person in the room. I do know that I understand how people think. I can read a room. I will outwork everybody else. But I was thinking about this, and people say, how do you do it? I'm like, a lot of duct tape and white lies.
Mm.
It may mean that that week I'm serving dinosaur chicken nuggets to my kids for the third time because it buys me a little bit more time to get something accomplished that's important to me. And it's okay for us to want things for ourselves.
Mhm.
And it's okay for us to not only want them, but to go get them.
Mm.
And it actually makes us better people who are happier,
Mhm.
which benefits our employer, our small business, our family, our friends. And so I was thinking about how often I duct tape things together. And I'll tell you a story, just an example in a second. And the importance, frankly, of white lies too. And I've gotten pushback at times. Well, lying is never good of any sort. And I talk about, every time we see a new mother, we tell her she looks beautiful. She's actually really tired.
Mhm.
And she may not look her very best.
Mhm.
But we do that because that's what we do as human beings to support other human beings.
Mhm.
And I was looking to give women permission to go do what they want. I'm going to provide you the tools for you to go do it, but also stop expecting this from yourself or anybody else. Stop worrying about that. That isn't useful to any of us. So duct tape and white lies it was. I also wanted to suggest, which it is, as you can tell, I have a very Midwest, pragmatic, simple style, and that this wasn't going to be a big fancy book with a bunch of terms that people are unfamiliar with. And this book is full of other women's stories from around this
Mm.
country and around this globe in all sorts of industries, all sorts of walks of lives about how they're implementing it, how they're overcoming the obvious challenges all of us face. I was going to tell you the story. So I was working on a huge merger. This was years ago. And of course, the daily conference call with all of the private equity companies and all the big attorneys was at 6:30 p.m. And my kids I pick up from daycare at 6 p.m. and I'm headed out to the suburbs. So I am sitting in traffic every day at 6:30 p.m. with three small boys in the car, doing a call with frankly nobody else who not only lives my life, but even has a semblance of an understanding of how much I duct tape and white lie my way through this.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I will admit, on those days when we had those conference calls, when I loaded the boys in the car from daycare, I handed out Pez dispensers and candy because it kept them quiet.
Mhm.
And there are people out there who will say you shouldn't give your I don't I'm not asking anybody for permission about how I pull things together. I got through that call and generally I had to lead it, and that's what I did to get through that. And that's okay.
That's such a great story because I think there's so much around being a woman in the workforce, being a mom trying to duct tape it together. You just gave a beautiful example of all the things that happen, whether you have kids or not. But I think there is something very um, challenging and beautiful and a lot when you have kids and you're trying to do this other thing. I would love, do you, when you wrote this book and you were going back through these like moments in your life, I'm just curious how many of them came back to how you were trying to balance this family dynamic. I just would love to hear that just because when I talk to moms, and I'm a mom of two little ones, I always say like our time is just so different. We're thinking and prioritizing things in such a different way. And yeah, I'd love to know as you were writing that book, what did that look like for you to go back and pull those stories out from your own life or when you're talking to other women for this?
A couple points. Let's start with, and we can come back to it if you want. I wrote this
Yes.
book in 45 days. That's how much time I
Oh
had on
my
my
gosh,
schedule to do
Emily.
it. It was either a now or never. And
That's your third point. Go now.
yes, exactly. I signed a contract on May 15th. I handed in a final manuscript on June 30th. That's just how it had to happen.
That's
But I thought
amazing.
back
Okay.
through all of those stories. And I do when I'm with these women in the Women Leader Series workshops all the time. And I spend as much time with younger women who are on the front end of their career,
Mhm.
who maybe aren't married, doesn't matter if you are or not. You may or may not have children. There's different challenges then.
Mhm.
How am I taken seriously by my employer, by my colleagues? And those stories are in there of mine and other people. How do
Mhm.
I do that? Um, and then how do I do it when I have babies? There's another story. I was having one of my babies and I had run down the street at lunchtime to have that regular near the end constant OB appointment. And they had said, we need to send you to the hospital to be monitored. And I was like, well, if I'm going to the hospital, can't we just have a baby? But I was working on a massive project back at work. And I ran into a colleague the other day who told me this story. Who has never been married, doesn't have kids. She said, it is so stuck in my mind that you came back, pulled people together and said, okay, let's hand out final assignments before I take a cab to the hospital, and that you were walking down the hallway to leave and somebody stopped you and said, I have one more question. And you turned around and said, listen, I don't doubt you've got this. Now I'm leaving. I'm going to get a sandwich and I'm going to go have a baby. You need to just go do it. And I think part of that, and there's so much discussion around mentoring. The mentoring
Yeah.
does not need to be a set aside with a specific person. She said that stood it in the mind of so many of us women. You got this. That you left with complete confidence, that you didn't have to go to the hospital and call four more times that afternoon, that you had complete confidence we could pull off this major project that was taking place in 4 days for, two huge corporations. You got to just do what you got to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. I love that. I'm wondering, where do you see the most challenge for people in their careers as you've been mentoring these women and going to these things? Are you seeing it right? I'm just wondering what's trending right now. Is it the younger women coming in or is it this midlife or is it taking care of our aging parents? Like, what's the thing right now that you're seeing? Okay, this group especially needs this type of support right now or next year?
I'm gonna hit on three of them.
Okay.
And one of them I am seeing trending, but I don't see much out there on it.
Oh,
So the
okay.
first group is these younger women. And one of the books I recommend for everybody of every age is Arthur Brooks' From Strength to Strength, differentiating between the strengths of younger generations, both in terms of their skills and exposure, but also what are we really good at different ages and different stages of our lives.
Mm, hmm.
And younger women are much better at things than some of us are who've been in the workforce for decades now.
Yeah,
I
100%.
have no intention of trying to master things that I can pay them to do that they've already mastered.
Hmm. Hmm.
That wouldn't be smart and not a good use of my time.
Hmm.
But I'm really good at other things, and I really hone in on spending my time on the things that I provide the most value to my clients and my products because of where I am in my experiences and my know-how and my talents. That's number one, younger
Mm,
women. You're right as well about this whole thought about people who've been in the workforce wanting something new, the whole mentoring, who am I responsible for, feeling a need to bring others along. That's
hmm.
legitimate. How do I do it? There's a ton of stories in the books of other ways women did it. I have a woman in private
Mm,
equity who said, I neither have the time nor the ability to bring a bunch of other women along with me on a daily basis. What I'm going to do is be a trailblazer at this one place on how
mm,
one woman did it. And they can do it my way or they could do it their own way, but that's what I have to offer them.
hmm.
And I think that, again, that's fair. That's
Yeah,
everybody doing it the way they can do it.
yeah.
The trend I'm seeing that I see very little at, and I'm going to guesstimate, these are women between the ages of 35 and 65. Okay, I've been doing something for a while now, and I've actually kind of mastered it. I may not say that aloud, but I've kind of mastered it. I'm wondering what's next. Can I do something completely different? I've had an idea that's been bouncing around in my mind for a long time. I may want to be in a completely different field. I may want to be a different expert. Perhaps you've been in policy, you want to be in marketing.
Hmm.
You've been an attorney in court, you want to be a judge. All sorts of ways they want to do different. And I will say it aloud too. On the personal front, they may be interested in quiet quitting a marriage or a long-standing relationship. And they want people to talk to them less at times. Can
Hmm.
my kids just moved out of the house? I really enjoy this quiet. I now have more time. What am I going to do with it?
Hmm.
This is a consistent conversation I have where women bring me this thinking they're saying something unique that only exists in their mind and that at times there's something wrong with them. And I probably have it 4, 5 to 10 times a week with women.
Oh, interesting. Is that why you kept going back to the consensus piece is so important? Is just we need those shared stories to make sure that we're
I think
realizing
we
this?
oftentimes are seeking permission from somebody we respect or admire.
Okay.
And so I will often say, I don't know if this is you, and I don't know if you're
Mm,
bringing this to me in part because you'd like somebody to say that's okay to go do. But if you need me to say it, I'm going to say it right now. That's okay to go do. That's okay
yeah.
to think that. That's okay to want it. And that's okay to go do it.
Wow. Mm. Emily, I am so honored to have you on here. This has been amazing. I'm so glad you're doing this work in the world and making such a big difference. Is there anything that we didn't talk about, or a quote? You just mentioned a really great book, but anything that you really want to make sure gets across in this interview that's been on your heart and mind?
My first thing that's on my heart and mind is you, Amy. And we didn't know each other. And we jumped on and had a prior visit a few weeks ago.
Hmm.
Instantly liked and admired you.
Hmm.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being a woman leader.
Mm.
Thank you for reaching out and being a podcaster and sharing your story and sharing other people's. Thank you.
Wow.
So I'm grateful for the grace of women like you to do this.
Mm.
I think the one thing I want to leave everybody with is I wrote this book for you and me. I want this to be about us.
Yeah.
And I made all sorts of decisions on purpose along the way to tell women's stories. I went out and found and had a re-interview with a charge nurse who I had in a group in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She said, I'm so glad I'm a part of this workshop because I've been thinking about moving into a leadership role. You're a charge nurse in an ER.
Yeah.
Holy cow. You're an amazing leader who operates in the most intense and terrifying time in people's lives, and you do it every single day. What an incredible leader you are. And
Mhm.
she's seeking it out. And to your point about caretakers, close to 80% of women are caretakers, and almost none of them describe themselves as that. They
Yeah.
describe themselves as a daughter, a wife, a mom, whatever it is, an aunt to a kid that, you're helping out your sister or whatever it is.
Mhm.
That is something that we have to give ourselves a breather for. And it was really important to me that we understood in not only this book, but when we are seeking what we want in life, we all have to do it without control alt deleting all of the things we are already responsible for. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not about having to give up something you can't give up. It's about you can still cram it in and have that sense of thriving.
Mm.
So I wrote it for women like you and me, and I want them to see it as a resource. And I even went so far as making sure it was printed in paperback rather than a hardcover because it makes it more affordable for people to get their hands on it.
So good. Oh, Emily, thank you so much. I received that. Thank you. And I'm so grateful. Yeah, you responded and are doing this work and are willing to share this. And I do think too, I lived in DC for a little bit and it's just such a intense, like success-driven culture. And I think oftentimes just letting that bleed out into the world and like how are you doing this, what is going behind, and so the fact that you went and you found those three secrets and are bringing them to people in an accessible way is so powerful, and it's going to have just a huge impact. So we'll make sure the book is linked up in the show notes and give away some copies because I think this is really important. But how can people find you, connect with you, follow you on social media so they can get your Friday tips, and then where are we buying the book?
All good questions. Places I am the most: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Okay.
Definitely can join me there. You can also message me there. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Easiest website to find me is emilylampkin.com. You can also find me at duct tape and white lies.com, the women leader series.com. I am easy to find by Googling Emily Lampkin. The book is available. Easiest place to pre-purchase it
Mm-hmm.
is on Amazon. Just put my name and Duct Tape and White Lies in, and it pops up, and it's got a fantastic, wild pink cover that is eye-catching, and I think very much represents the content and all of us.
So good. Thank you so much, Emily. This has
Thanks.
been absolutely an honor.
Loved every minute of it. Let's go do what's most important to us, ladies. Let's have some fun, and thank you for being women leaders.